Um, yeah, you might say, well, Paul, this is so simple. Is God real? 51% of people living in the United States with a church on every corner say they don't believe that there's a God. Yet 97% believed that there was a God in 1950. Do you see what happens when people like Klaus Schwab and Noah Harari and many others that are in charge of our education system? You see what happens when they get in charge. Mike from around the world. How are you, Mike?
Pastor Paul, God bless you. Doing okay.
Oh, praise God. You sound wall to wall and treetop tall coming in. Really, really good tonight.
All
Praise
right, all
God.
right. Good.
Have you had a good week? I mean, we tonight. I don't know if you heard it. I played 7 minutes of Noah Harari and his speech that basically God is not real.
But no, I didn't. I didn't get to hear.
Okay. Well,
You play it, but I'm familiar with the guy.
okay. You know all about him and his buddy. Can you tell us why the most powerful, wealthiest leaders of every industry and nations go every year to the World Economic Forum to listen to such foolishness? Can you help me understand this?
Yeah, they go to
Feed.
feeding. Yeah, they can't find. Just as we are born, right? With nobody had to tell us that God was real. Nobody had to tell us that Christ was real. And they can't say it's because of education, because we were born like that, right? Which
Right.
means that identifies the seed within a person. That one phrase that's in that one scripture in the Bible. The Lord said that all who come to me, the Father hath given me,
Amen.
and I will in no wise lose. So, for a person who cannot believe in God, who really honestly does not believe in God, they are of a different spirit altogether. They
Yeah.
are of a different one. And that guy is the exact one. He's one of those types that we're warned of. He really is one of those. You got to be, these guys are not normal either. They're not normal because many of them are of old, right? You remember that? I can describe that guy. He's
Okay.
a he's a spot in the feast of charity,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, you're
When they
going to go
feast
to
with you,
Jude. You're going to go to Jude
yet
on me.
feeding themselves without fear, clouds they are without water,
Right.
carried about by the wind, trees whose root withereth, without fruit, twice dead, plucked up by the roots.
That's right.
And he says, and he really does fit that description.
Amen.
Murmurers,
Amen.
complainers, walking after their own lust, mouth speaking great swelling words, having men's persons in admiration because of advantage, so on and so forth. But that guy, he fits that description, Pastor. These guys are devoid of the seed that we come from. And
Did
in my world,
yeah.
you come of one of two sources.
Okay. Me.
Either a person, either a person is legitimately uh, a soul from the Lord or not. Or they're from a different, there are people on this earth that are not, they're just not of the Lord, right? Which means, like us, many of your listeners out there, before they came to Christ, they were trying to fit into the world. They were doing
Right.
everything the world
Right.
does,
Right.
but they were also convicted. They said, I can't keep doing this. I don't belong here, right? Well,
Right.
guess what? Those people like him tried to fit in with believers, right? They
Yeah.
did everything they could to believe, but they said, oh man, I can't keep doing this. So they were faking that they believe to try and fit in with believers. But just the opposite of us. These guys have dark souls. It's not uncommon to see them in anger when their eyes go totally black, right?
Exactly.
They have, they also have a trademark. The way they look in the eyes, right? They often, most of these guys are padded with makeup around the eyes, big time. They
Okay.
have those same. Have you ever noticed that terrorists, right? They have the exact same eyes. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah. You could. It's the windows to the soul. I mean, if the soul is dark, you
Right.
know.
They look sleepy. don't
Yeah.
they?
Yes.
Their eyes just look dead sleepy. This guy, um, he fits a profile of one of these guys, and they have, they often put heavy makeup there. Why? Because naturally, they look like they're ready to just, take the life out of everything, and they're strong proponents of science and Darwinism and all that,
Big time.
all
Big
that stuff.
time.
So it's not uncommon for a guy like that to challenge any belief that deals with the living God. But if you listen to him, he sounds foolish,
Yep.
very foolish. I believe he describes everything as a story,
He
some
did.
falsified,
Yep.
made up story, right?
Yep. Yes, he does.
So,
He says it's just a fantasy that
yeah, it's just a
it's
fantasy,
not
right?
true. And he
You know,
compared in this 7 minutes I played for one, which was from one of his TED Talk speeches in front of 2,000 people.
yep,
He
yep, yep,
compared us to
yep,
chimpanzees, no God, that these stories
yeah,
of the Bible are just made
yeah,
up to used as control mechanism over people.
yep, yep.
Yeah, and he just kept
And see,
doing
he
this.
minces what he does, and that that whole speech is a cover, is a defense. Let me tell you why. Because a lot of people are finding out that the systems that humanity has made, right, like the money system, right, is something man-made. It's not something God made.
Right.
And he mentions that with the living God.
He put
That's
it
where he makes
over.
his
He put
hugest mistakes.
yeah,
That's right. So
he
he does that because a lot of Christians are starting to find out, wait a minute, and they're going to find out, especially with this dark kingdom, that this is man-made stuff. This is not something that God instructed man to do, right? And so
right.
he puts them all together so that it will tear down the defenses of Christians when they say, hey, God gave us divine things. This stuff that's failing you, that's man-made stuff. So he puts them all in the same basket. So everybody thinks of all the same thing. The second thing he does, Pastor Paul, is when, that guy's just, he'll leave a bad taste in your mouth, but it's common. He says, it's funny, all those atheistic people, most of them, they speak the exact same thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And his biggest mistake is when he's talking about Christianity. He says, yeah, you're supposed to listen to a God who tells you what to do. Okay, that's a mistake. Here's why. God doesn't tell anybody what to do. God requests of people to take a
To
better path.
choose. To
And when he
choose.
was, that's right, when just like in the Ten Commandments, just like in the instructions of the Most High, when he requests or asks of us or tells us to do something, right? It's just like a doctor telling a patient, don't go out and drink a bunch of alcohol. You just had heart surgery. And if you drink one drink, you're going to die. So
Right.
he's pleading with us, right? People can read it all sorts of ways, but that's a father talking to his children.
Yes.
Children,
Yes.
please don't do that. Even as a parent, you get loud when you're telling your kids, when you're playing with them, don't play on the highway. Don't do that. Don't do this. But you're not yelling at them. You're begging them. Don't do
Amen.
that because they're going to die if they do. So, hey, that's his second mistake, because God doesn't make a bunch of rules and tell people to follow it. And if that were the case, nobody would ever commit sin.
He has his conscience seared with a hot iron. The
Absolutely.
Bible says that they have reprobate minds, or they to believe these things that are convenient.
That's right.
So he talks a lot, Mike, about transhumanism. That he says we're all sapiens, but we're destined to be underneath AI. That AI is soon that AI and robots and all that is going to be over top of us, going to
He
control
knows
us.
what he knows what they did already. Pastor Paul, they have done something already.
Okay,
They're
let's
already.
tell us about it.
When AI first came out last year in the month of November, right? Everybody was scared of AI coming out. I said, it's too late. It's too late. It's already out. It's too late.
Too late.
It's been out. It's been doing things. What he's not telling people is they're going to introduce this to the world. They're the ones tearing down the old system.
Yep.
They're the ones who have people confused about what they can and cannot do. Everybody can look at I'm going to go ahead and say it. They can look at the president. He's not calling any shots. There are people behind him guiding him in everything he does, right?
Right.
So they're the ones that sabotage the way of the people and have installed something else. The deep fakes that are coming, the AI interpreters on the internet, they're going to all but cripple most operations on the internet, right? They're going to cause wars. Listen, I told everybody this, what, 15 years ago. I'm going to say it again. There's a program coming out, and everything a person ever said about somebody else, right? They're going to receive messages from every conversation anybody ever had. Do you think that's going to pit one Christian against the other? It will,
It's going to
unless
bring
people better get prepared for that,
it will
right?
cause total chaos
That's
and
right.
division, and wow. That
Pastor's coming, because if somebody so much, everything you speak on a cell phone, right, is
yeah,
transcribed.
yeah.
It's transcribed just like that. And any conversation anybody had about anybody else, they're going to send that person whatever anybody said. That's just not going to be good. They're going to do this on all levels, not just with the people, but with leaders too, because they'll be positioned. If they are the ones running the AI, they can set themselves in priority, right? Or in
Yeah,
friendship or in league with the AI, and it
yeah.
will protect them, but oust everybody else. So that means it won't share their info. It's going to share everybody else's. That's going to cause some big problems. That's happened. That's happened twice in Congress. It happened in Israel's their defense department. It has broken down relationships in Turkey. It's already starting to happen, and this is AI spawned, so it's already starting to take place.
So, in other words, and you said this 15 years ago, like you said, a long time ago, you've seen this AI and these algorithms that will be geared to bring division and destruction, sowing discord. One of the abominations of the Bible is, sowing discord among people, among the brethren, or among
That's right.
people. And so the lying tongue, the false witnesses, the
That's
whispering.
right.
Imagine all of that released and
Yep.
people hearing what other people
Yep.
had at some time or another
Yep.
said about them.
Yep.
It's insane what that would
Yep.
cause. And you're saying they're going to release this in dribs and drabs and pieces and parts. Is that what you're saying?
It'll ultimately hit in very big chunks, Passball, because AI. Think about this. AI starts out as a program that anybody can have on a small SD card, right?
Yeah.
But and nobody writes code to do anything else but code to learn. So this machine will begin to learn based on that code. As it learns, it develops, it uses these neural systems like brains, every storage, and all this that kind of stuff. It starts to store information and pull it in specific ways. It then mimics and emulates everybody else it sees. It forms a type of identity. It looks for directives. It begins to carry out directives. It rewrites its own code so that a human being cannot go in there and examine its code, right? That's already
Right.
happened. Once you release AI, it will rewrite itself. It'll essentially duplicate
Wow.
itself, erase the original. Now it's written in a code and on a machine nobody ever put it on. Even the military has a anti-AI system that was also developed, and it has to do its thing too. That's the only way to combat AI. The wars in the computer realm have already begun, computer against computer, except AI does not reside on one machine. AI resides on everything it can reside on, and it's just not
And
good. Once,
it's gathering information from everywhere. I mean, fast, isn't it?
well, already has it. It's a known fact that with the NSA systems, right, and the brand new computer, the quantitative storage systems that they have, you can take everything found on the internet, right, and suck that up in one day and process it in one. And when I say suck it up, I mean it can look at an image, know who's in that image, classified, then go back and verify everything after it's done. It can read every single letter, every single communication, everything. It knows what you're talking about, what you would suggest. It knows what you're prone to do, and all this kind. It has already marked every single human being it can that has ever taken a picture, by a cell phone or any other means. So you're looking at some pretty vast systems that are only limited by what they can store. But these neural nets, right? Here's something that is a big one. Your Apple phone, right? Part of that Apple phone is a known neural net. It's part of the brain of this thing. And most people don't even know this. Part of its storage capacity is on your phone.
Okay, so is AI is already in here, right?
It's on everything.
It's on
It's on
everything.
everything. And especially the brand new phones have well, I'm going to say a partition that is specifically designed not to combat, but to utilize of the new AI architecture. That's why most people still use IPv6, Internet protocols, this, that, and the other. All that changes this year, right? We're going to advance at least 200-300 years this year, right? This year. This year. Cars are coming out that are going to blow your mind. I said that last time.
Yeah.
Um, there's for example, there's a type of drone, an aerial drone that goes in the house, but it makes no noise when it flies. Why? Because AI redesigned propellers that you cannot hear. They're hypersonic. It's in a
So is
hypersonic
it like
range.
a
You can't hear them.
size like a
You can't hear
fly?
them.
Is it small?
No, 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 no. No, it's big enough. It'll go back and charge itself. It's immune to most things. It has a very weird configuration. However, it can carry out just about anything you want to, and it can talk to everything in your house. It's part of the extended assistant program, right, that they're using with these brain links. Popular to, or unlike what the public knows, Elon Musk is not the only one with brain implants.
No.
They have the tabbed plants, which go externally up the skin, which once you leave them there for a week, they kind of spread out over your skin, right, to have receptors on your neurons. And then capture that data as it fires, which gives you absolute connectivity with all your devices, which is why the bracelets are coming out very quickly, right?
Yeah, you
Why?
keep
Because we're going
talking
to get
about
rid of
those.
hackers. Well, here's what they do.
Okay.
If you
What's
have a
the
bracelet,
bracelet do?
if you have a bracelet on, it's going to read your DNA and everything else off your skin second to second, right, throughout the day. But that bracelet is your access to your bank, your car, your
Okay.
license that's coming
Okay.
out, your cell phone, and everything else. No more passwords. The bracelet itself will give access to your devices, but the bracelet has to contact your skin.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's why they're doing it with the braces first.
Right.
So it's going to be once you're in proximity to your phone works, your computer works. If you step away from those devices, it's not going to work. If somebody else steps up, it's not going to work. Right.
So it's
No
biometric.
more
It's
passwords.
it's based on
That's right.
biometric.
That's
Okay.
right. No more passwords. Norton Antivirus is set up for this. 23andMe, even though they had a breach, they're set up for this. All of them are getting set up for this so that they function seamlessly with the AI controller, with a
Okay.
controller.
Okay.
And the controller, by the way, has an identity of its own. They do not, you don't type on a terminal to talk to it. You don't do that. You call it on a phone. You speak to it over a speaker just like you would speak to a person. And that's the way you do it, right? That's just how you do it. And it's been responding without people actually knowing who it was. It's been an AI system for a long time, but it's old, right? AI takes 1 day to grow from age 0 to age 50. 1 day.
Wow.
So the same thing a 50-year-old knows, it knows in a day, not months, not years. They were lying when they said that, right? I want you to think of something. At the beginning of the year, what did they say? They said it would take. It takes what they say. It takes 6 months, right, to fully mature an AI system, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they said?
Yeah, they said that.
But so if they just launched it in one of the systems you can learn was launched January 5th, right?
Okay.
But it's already at maturity. How did that happen if it takes 6 months? You're going to start to find out these lies, right? If you hear them, you have to hear what they're saying. They're going to tell you everything if you can hear them. You'll not falling for their tricks like they do the mass public. But they're going to tell you everything. All you have to do is hear. If you don't fall for their little paradigm, you'll be able to extract the truth,
Now,
right?
here's a question. We know that Elon Musk announced this week that he's implanted a chip into the brain of a person that's a quadriplegic. Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
And yet this man can now, just without speaking, without touching anything, just his thoughts can make his computer do things.
Right.
So if that technology is able that you can communicate and make commands to your computer or your systems, your phone or
Right.
whatever, can the system make commands to you? Can this become a mind controlling mechanism, much like the Bible talks about in Revelation 13 during the time of the mark of the beast, when people are being forced or told or made to worship the image? I mean, is this going to go both
Well,
ways?
yeah, you know what, I think people, because I did notice something in Revelation. It says they worship the dragon too, right?
Right,
The dragon's been out long before the system of the beast ever came to earth, and
right,
people do that right now. They do that right now.
right now.
They glorify the stuff that men make. Think about it. Everything mankind starts to build, people begin to worship it. They worship systems, they worship complexes. Unfortunately, they worship institutions, and they will kill people over those things that men make. Right? That's worship. That's worship, Pastor Paul.
Yes,
So
I agree.
they're already doing that. The BCI devices, brain to computer interface, was going to be called something else, of course, but can it work both ways? Well, let's look at it this way. Right? Somebody can speak to you right now in your head, and you would swear that you just heard the voice of God.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, in other words, it would override your. It gets into your consciousness. Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
because they have mapped the brain. They already had the brain initiative. And in the brain initiative, they found out so much about how neurons fire, how they form, how they isolate themselves in their form, and how they're recalled on long-term memory, right? So if a person's trying to remember something, one of the major things they found out was that memories are tied to emotion. So if you can cause a person to feel a specific way, anything tied to a memory while they were feeling that way can be pulled, right? So some people, without knowing, I probably shouldn't say this, I'm going to say it anyway. Some people have found that they have gone through some weird emotional states only for it to go away, right?
Yes, yes.
Not everybody, some people. And it's like you're in a weird emotional state, then all of a sudden you're clear again, and you don't know why you were emotional. Well, somebody was probably, well, they were more than likely extracting or having some sort of feedback loop. Can that be done remotely without touching a person? You better believe it. You better believe it,
So,
right? It's
mind control is already
Oh
beginning.
yeah, you better believe it. If they wanted to, they could cause the whole populace to become, zombies. They can disconnect your neural pathways, right? So you'll have no motor function. They can, and then reestablish them as soon as they,
Are
whatever
you
they want to. They can make you feel like you're burning right
are
in
you
your skin to the
serious?
point where you would go to the crazy house. They can cause you to start hearing. They can overwhelm you with so many thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Or let's just say data that's been multiplexed and sent directly to your head that you would go, they can do this already. They
Th-
can do this to an entire country if they wanted to. They can do this. The question is, they haven't done it. Here's what I believe. I believe because at the root of all things, we're looking at something spiritual. Satan he cannot make us do anything. He
No.
can only seduce us into doing things. I think God put the halts on it. He put the brakes on him, right? I believe he has instruction. He cannot do anything to make us do anything, but what he can do is he can talk us into being corrupted. That's what I believe. He can't make us really do anything. Even
No.
when you're dealing with people who are highly suggestive, right? They 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 can be very resistive. They can. But doing that to an entire populace is different. That will be somebody taking over the world. They don't have to control a person to make them accept
Well,
a
that's
mark
kind of the
or to make them worship something.
that's kind of
Because
the
people are so, people believe in Darwinism, don't they?
yes, they do. And
Why?
well, because
Why?
they don't want to believe in God. They don't want to believe in the Bible. They want to believe in the creation. And they've
Right.
been deceived somewhere.
But why don't, everybody's born with some sort of identification, knowing there's a God. When I was a kid,
Right.
before I could read or do anything else, somehow I knew there was a God. Somehow I knew when somebody mentioned that word Jesus, it was common to me. Nobody had to teach me that, right? And for anybody out there that believes, the same thing probably happened to them. So why would anybody want everybody to believe in Darwinism? Why would they want that to happen? Here's my belief. If you can cause the world to believe in some alternative um, origin, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Then guess what? Those people are open to believe something else, aren't they?
Anything. They'll believe
If
anything.
they can, but that's right, that's right. And so all you have to do is get it, because people do this one thing. They say, well, we have to vet this guy and vet that guy. How are you going to vet somebody? By credentials? Those who have the most impressive credentials are the greatest liars in the world. They're the greatest manipulators, right? So
Yeah.
if you can't vet somebody spiritually by the Holy Spirit, you're not vetting anything. All you're doing is getting the best selection of devils that you can possibly get. I mean,
Wow.
think about that.
Yeah, you're
Because
right.
when people vet people, how are you going to vet somebody? Based off what?
Well, yeah, no
Based off worldly
baselining.
standards, right?
Right.
No. Let me. If I want to vet somebody, I'm going to go to a somebody who knows how to pray, somebody who is connected with the Holy Spirit, and we're going to get together, and I'm going to ask them, what do you think about so and so? Forget it. I know people with big credentials. I wouldn't trust them with a potato gun. I just wouldn't do it.
Well, again, if you don't have a baseline, if you don't have a belief system, okay, if you don't have a moral compass, and somebody tells you that you're the same as a chimpanzee, that there is no America, there is no Israel, there is no borders, you have no human rights, there is no God, that is fiction, you are the same as a chimpanzee. If they can get you into that thought process, then you're so easily manipulated at this point. You'll believe anything. I mean,
That's right.
you'll just believe anything. And I can't, it's amazing to me how many millions of people are going down a path like that. I mean, it's foolish, isn't it?
Well, Pastor, the one thing people want is control, right? In fact, everybody in your audience can connect with this. The one thing they never want to lose is control, right? When you wake up, if you didn't know what was happening in your life, you would have a little bit of anxiety. Nobody likes that. Everybody knows the consequences of losing control, right? When you've lost control or track of things, unfortunate things happen because you live within a system that will penalize you if you forget something, if you're substandard, if you don't keep up with this and keep up with that, right? So everybody wants that form of control. That's the only way they can be comfortable. In fact, most people say, well, if I can see everything and it's okay, I can relax. If not, I can't relax. Now, because of that penalty, most people have taken it an additional step. Not only do they want control, Pastor Paul, but they want to know that their future can be anything they desire it to be. That is, they're not going to have a questionable future. And so by coming up with some narrative that somehow mankind is just a he just came out of a soup, right? In fact, if people believe that we just came out of the muck and that evolution took place, Pastor, I'm going to get a bunch of wood from Lowe's, throw it in a pile in the woods, come back 50 years, and I'll have a house, right?
Yeah,
It come back 500 years, I should have a house. It should evolve into something,
something.
right? No, it will not. So, but that's the way people think, correct? That's the
Yeah.
way they think. They think that now. Why? Because they're constantly reinforcing it. And the people who believe that are now supporting that, all for one purpose, so they can break away from the idea of being created so that they can be the creator. Because if you're your own creator, you don't have to be moral. You can let your flesh
Yeah,
run amok. You
there's
don't have to
no
have discipline or anything else,
there's no
right?
baseline.
That's
There's
right.
no
That's
word,
right.
there's no consequence.
And
There's
that's what they want. That's what they want. They don't
yeah,
want anybody telling them that you can't marry that or this, or
right.
you can't do that. They don't want that. They don't
No.
want to be moral. They want to be exactly what their master is. And what did the Lord say? The Lord said, you will do the will of your father. When he was talking to those guys who wanted to kill him, he said, I've done nothing. You want to kill me. And then he told them, you will do the will of your father. And he said, your father is the devil because you want to kill me. And he was a murderer from the beginning. So people are doing that now. They do the will of whoever their father is. They do the will of.
Amen. All right, Mike, here's a question. President Biden made an executive order today to reach into the West Bank to, to against Jewish people. He's already chosen four. He said he can choose many others. Anytime a Jewish person living in the West Bank is maybe causing a problem or voicing their opinion or whatever, he can freeze their bank accounts. He can have them imprisoned, whatever he wants to do. If you read this executive order, how does he think he has the authority to do that to citizens of other countries? What's happened here?
Pastor, he did. Look, you know what? When you read that, the first thing I noticed is that comes from one of his.
Well, I know that. It's not him personally.
He's that poor guy. He
Yeah.
can't even. He couldn't quote that executive order.
No, I know.
But what they want to do, let's go ahead and face it,
Mm-hmm.
because things have taken a turn, and I try to stay isolated in politics, but let's go ahead and face this one fact. You have a faction within the White House, a big one, and they are doing exactly what we read regarding the Antichrist.
Yeah.
All their steps lead to the Antichrist, and they will stop anything that will give progress towards any faith-based action, and they keep chaos alive in the Middle East. Right? They'll
Oh,
do anything they can to tear down or to absolutely put the bottle cap on Israel.
yeah.
Right?
You
They
said you've
will.
been saying they're going to disarm
Yes, they are. Yes, they
Israel,
are.
and I
Yes,
think
they are.
I think I saw today where it says Biden said he is set to make a push. Right here it is. Demilitarized Palestinian state as part of a new doctrine. Right there, there's three things that they'll do: the Saudi-Israeli normalization, a two-state solution, and a campaign against Iran. He says that's the three things of the new Biden doctrine. Well, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I do believe that he wants to do a two-state solution, but I'm not so sure about combating Iran.
Well, I'll tell you this tonight, right now, they're fueling up. They're fueling up, Pascal. There will be a strike.
Okay,
In fact,
because we've been waiting.
we have,
We've been waiting
Pastor. We've got we're within
hours.
hours now
Okay.
of the first set.
Okay.
So escalation is inevitable. It's
Yeah,
inevitable.
it has to be.
It really is. But see, that's dangerous because nobody except Israel, in the way that they do it, has ever hit Iran and come out without a huge scar, right? We've already tried that before. It did not work. It almost messed us up big time. Russia did the same thing. It did bode so well for them either. Now we're going to do it again. In fact, we're not doing it from one location, but multiple locations, right? Now, here's what I think will ultimately happen. We have an idea to show force, right? To show that we're not going to just get hammered and take it, right?
Yeah,
Retaliation.
we have to. Yes.
But, Pastor, you know what's been happening lately?
No.
Every time the USA has had this idea that they're going to show somebody something, right? There's a breakdown in what we're showing. And then we end up getting hit back twice as hard as we struck, or something happens on the inside of America. I strongly believe that all they have to do, we have to be very careful, because all they have to do is communicate activation within the USA. We're already compromised. We're
Oh.
compromised, right? I'm telling you now, we're compromised. And if you have, they're waiting for their best opportunity to strike, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I was talking to somebody today and they said, well, Mike, what do you think about the grassroots movement of going to Texas? The people going to
Right.
Texas
Right.
because it's all colors, all creeds, all everybody going there. I said, well, that's great. But if they're patriotic uh, towards this country, they should stay in
Stand
place while
still.
we're in the Middle East, because if they ever gather into one location, what of another country had sleeper cells here?
Yes,
They're
they
going to say,
do.
hey, well, most of those guys came from here, so let's activate that sleeper cell and these guys over here. Because we don't need everybody who actually believes in the ideals of this nation to be in one spot away from everywhere else. That puts them at risk. Most people are not going to do anything if some foreign entity begins to fire outside. Patriots will, but the average person, they don't have the wherewithal to do that. They don't know what to fight. They're
So we
conflicted.
cannot divide ourselves
No, 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 no,
because
no,
we're
no.
really vulnerable from the
We
rest
are.
of the world. China, Russia, Iran, whoever else, North Korea.
We
We're vulnerable, aren't we?
we should have seen that when all these people started marching against Israel and our government.
I
You have
know.
people, in this country who do not like America.
I know.
right? You
Yeah.
have a foreign entity, or you have immigrants in this nation who still work on behalf of their own personal nation, which is that's not right, right? But they do that. That's very dangerous. It's
I-
dangerous, and so
I'm
we
also
have such a
I'm also concerned that it could be another January 6th situation if down at the border. Yeah, people could be set up for another January 6th, another thing be called another insurrection, and so it's best to set back and not do that. You're saying don't do this anyway because we need to stay scattered out
yeah,
and stay
yeah.
available.
Plus, Pascal, look, the president, he has no executive authority to do anything with the border. He doesn't, not anything. That's why President Trump was stopped. Remember, he said he was going
Yeah,
to build the wall,
yeah,
and Congress stopped him from building the wall. Congress, that takes congressional authority, right? The president cannot do that. And that's what President Trump found out about. Now, with Congress, the people are in control.
yes.
If they would ever coalesce, combine, get together, and go ahead and start giving Congress declaratives. Congress can't say no, they cannot say no by law. They cannot say no. They have to address it. But they have taught the people that the president can do something about the wall. And so guess what? You have all the people saying, Mr. President, why don't you do something about the wall? He can't do anything. That's not under executive. He has no executive authorities to do anything about the wall. Congress does. And unfortunately, all those people going down there, that time runs out Sunday. All right, the time of intervention. Nobody can intervene right now. Nobody. It's
Okay,
still in the
and
hands of Texas,
the reason you say it runs out Sunday. Why is the reason it runs out Sunday?
because by law, Texas can do anything they want to do, and the federal government actually has more time than what they said on television to respond. Sunday is that deadline, right? So if the federal government is going to do anything, Sunday is going to be the moment they do it, right? Not any time right now. It's going to be Sunday. They have teams reviewing the laws of this land, and believe me, something is going to take place. If those people get together down there, something is going to take place. Something is, and it's an eerie situation.
Well,
I don't like this border thing,
no,
Pascal,
I don't
because
like it at all.
I told COT something a few times about one volcano in Mexico and that wall, which dealt with California. It directly dealt with California.
Yeah.
But my goodness, if
Oh,
they go down there, and this is this wall situation is
it's a dangerous
not a good
thing, and
situation.
now
It is.
the
Well, it's weaponized too because troops. Um,
well
you're looking at troops
the
have been
governor of
coming from.
Florida is now sending 1,000 of his National Guards to go and join the Texas National Guard. This is not. This is a, and you got to believe this that other states will probably do the same, and so this is becoming a powder keg, isn't it?
Yeah, because Fort Hood, Texas is there, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have what Second Cavalry Division, First Cav, all these different units down there. They also have memos have gone out that they may have to muster. Uh, that's not good. You can't pit the military against the military, right?
No,
Yeah, that's,
no,
that's why it's
no,
going to be
no.
hands off until Sunday. Sunday is going to be that deadline, and I don't know what's going to happen, but
We'll
I
keep
know
our
that
eyes
something is
open.
going to give way. Something is going to give way Sunday.
Yeah, we got to keep our eyes open. We're going to pray. We're going to keep our eyes open. We're going to
Yeah,
pray that we
yeah.
don't make a major mistake here and divide ourselves any worse than what it is. And so, all right, we're moving forward. We can see it's happening. So, Mike, when you said that Israel's going to be disarmed, I think I saw the start of that when the president has this executive authority where he can reach in and start freezing assets. He even when John Kirby was asked, could they do this to the governmental members of like the Knesset, and he said, not now, not yet. So this is a threat. This is an American administration threatening its ally, Israel. I mean, this is the
You
disarming.
have, yep, you have a democratic. It's like a democratic faction or group of people within Israel. that absolutely hate what they did. So you have traitors
Wow.
in that nation also, right? And
Right.
there are a lot. There are a lot. They didn't like their own people being, killed, tortured, taken hostage, but
Right.
they hated what Netanyahu did. They do not stand with him. They stand against him. And it kind of reminds me of that one passage: the people who say they are Jews but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Well, they're right there. They have no heart for Israel. They only have a heart for what they see as Israel. And they're
Yeah.
the ones that are going to be responsible for, they're the ones responsible for giving the procedures and intel to the U.S. anyway. Because how did the U.S. get the internal procedures to ever be in a position
I don't
to
know.
threaten Israel with things that they're threatening them with, right? You
Right.
have to do that from group to group. And that takes legal procedures. So we have to follow the laws of the land of Israel to do that. And certain laws of the land of Israel are not shared. That's an internal issue, right? So who's leaking that information to the USA that they would ever be emboldened to do that in the first place? And so now you have all these people who are emboldened, who are now taking the side of those in Gaza, saying that
Yes. Yes, they
Israel was
are.
wrong. They're saying they were wrong, and they're
Right.
going to have some consequences, right? So, my
That
goodness,
means
we are.
Israel's got the enemy in its own camp, just like we've
Yep,
got the enemy in
yep,
our camp,
yep,
and it's a war.
yep.
All right, Mike. Now, the stone steps. I seen where President Trump, okay, just lost another court situation. He's got
Yeah.
a whole lot more to go, and he's got some big ones where he's being charged almost with
Did you hear
insurrection.
what? Did you hear what they said?
No,
I keep hearing these whispers
okay,
that he's going to jail.
I do. I keep hearing those whispers. Yes,
Lord help us.
that's the stone steps. If that happens, they're going to
Yep.
march him down.
Lord help us.
What do you think? Let's hope to God not that it doesn't happen. That it would be. This is a former president running for president, leading by a mile in his party. We can't start becoming a banana republic and start doing what the guys have done in South America, all this, and Europe.
Yep.
Can we?
Well, it could happen. It could happen. The sad part is they don't understand something. They're following polls from people on their own personal lists, right?
Right, right.
Those polls have been wrong for the last, what, 15 years?
Yeah,
They've
easily.
been wrong, just absolutely wrong. And so they don't understand that people have a belief in the resolve of President Trump. They care less about credentials. They saw what he could do when he was in
Yes,
office,
yes,
right?
yes.
So there are certain times, for any Democrat out there, there's certain times for progress. You need certain types of people, and he just so happens to be good at negotiating, to be good at talking to people.
Yep.
They should absolutely attempt to use that, not to abuse it, not to kill the person because he didn't do things their way. He certainly, they're after him. They're not going to give up. They're just not going to give up. And somebody has to stand up and have some sort of workable strategy as far as conservatism in this country, or it's going to be lost too. It's going to be disenfranchised. It's going to be part of the split. The first split of America is right around the corner, and I mean a governmental split.
Right.
I mean that type split where
Yeah.
everything will be halted, no elections. A council will make decisions, not a president. You're looking at emergency powers who may have to step up. That's not one person, that's several people who will make decisions for this nation. And there will be no president because everything will be halted. That's what you're looking at coming
Yeah.
forward, and it's coming forward quickly. Now, we already know there's a group within the government there that is quite dark, and they're calling all the shots. And it's almost like everybody is doing everything to get those guys to come out of the darkness to take their leadership role. If that happens, it's going to be over for a while.
I remember when Egypt during the Obama's Arab Spring, and him and Hillary, they told Tunisia, Egypt, Yemen. I mean, they were picking them out. Libya.
Yeah,
When Egypt got rid of Hosni Mubarak, who had been there for 32 years and had peace with Israel that whole time,
yeah,
they had some kind of wild election, and they put some guy in by the name of Mohammed Morsi.
Yep.
He in 1 year he got rid of their constitution, fired the entire parliament, put new
Yep.
governors in, and was trying to implement Sharia law.
Yeah.
And General El Sisi and some other generals got together and said, "Look, we can't have this." And they arrested the guy, took him out, and they put in a 5-general council that for 18 months they reestablished. Is that the kind of thing could happen?
Yep.
Where do the generals fit in if this thing if people start seceding from the union? Let's say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 states.
Well, that's
want to secede.
That's not even, you can't call that a federal action. That's one of the emergency procedures that will go into place. That's an automatic procedure with those generals in power who have command of troops. And at that point, everything changes. Now, Pastor Paul, we can't deny that something is going to happen.
I know.
That will, because prophecy states the occupation of Jerusalem for that 3.5 years. We're going to have to endure that 3.5 years. And during that time, what happened to America? Why did America not come to the aid of Israel during their occupation of Jerusalem? So that may, but it doesn't mean we're going to stay that way. I do believe that we're going to be, something is going to happen here, and we're not going to be able to intercede with Israel. We'll get it back together soon enough, because I believe that we'll aid in the taking down of the Antichrist ultimately. But we're going to go through something first.
Right.
We're going to be reordered first, right?
Yeah. Well, there has to be. There's 42 months. That's 3.5 years that the Antichrist will rule Jerusalem.
That's right.
And the world, for that matter. And America will be hogtied somehow by our own doing, probably, at least for 3.5 years. But we
didn't that happen?
Yeah, I believe we come out of it, though, don't we? We come out of it.
I do too.
Yeah.
And you know what? It seems like it's modeled after what happened to Israel with Saleem and Menahem and what was the other guy's name? Pekahiah. They had given the country over to the Assyrians. You remember that?
Yes.
And God said He did that because they were in chaos.
Yeah.
Right. And He used the Assyrian to kind of sweep out those players that were causing the chaos. And then He put them back together again. So He essentially used the Assyrian as a broom to sweep out the evil of the land, because God knows we have a lot of evil in this land. So what's it going to take to get the evil people out, so that we're not constantly fighting each other? Because right now, effectively, we're neutralized. All we do is fight each other.
Yeah,
that's all we're doing from day to day. That's all that's on the news. And
there's
at
no
what
governing.
Point does this? No. Everything is stalled.
They haven't passed
progress is stalled.
They can't even pass a budget.
Nope.
All they do is a continuation, of what they and they're spending money out of control. They can't print. They don't have enough printing presses to print it fast enough to cover what they've agreed to spend.
Yeah, which tells you is they don't care to do it. And if they don't care to do it, then something has already changed. It's just not been announced. And when you see Europe giving the Ukraine 50 billion euro. Okay. There's something has changed somewhere. So I do believe that we're going to see some change. I do believe that. I believe that. But after that change, we're going to be okay, because this nation still has believers in it. They believe in Christ.
Amen.
They don't believe in some weird gospel. They believe in the gospel.
Amen.
And I believe it's going to be those people. For the sake of those people, the Lord will just clean house. He's going to clean house.
He has to do it.
As Jerusalem is, that's right. And I believe it will be done. And after that, then the beast kingdom is thrown into darkness, and things begin to happen differently from there on.
Amen.
I believe that.
We're in a time right now, folks, like never before. You're living in biblical prophecy of the end days, and it's nothing to fear, okay? Because just like when Joshua was handing out the 12 tribes their lands, when he told Benjamin, he said, "You're going to go over here," and the Benjamin said, "Wait a minute, we're the littlest tribe, and there's big giants over there." And Joshua said, "And your God is who?" And I think that's what we have to think as Christians. We can't go into this time with biting our nails and stressing out. Remember, greater is He that's in you than he that's in the world, and you have to put God and keep God as the head and keep the devil under your feet. You have to march with confidence and faith, something that Noah Harari doesn't believe in.
Oh boy,
I hate
he's
to. I wonder
he's
what a guy
character,
like
isn't
if
he?
a man like that gets down on and gets in stage 4 cancer. Does a man like that ever turn to the ceiling and look up to the heavens and start talking to God? Does a man like
Oh, he
that?
will. Oh,
Okay,
they all will. And they all will at some. You know what, Pastor Paul, I'll tell you something. A lot of people, although many will give way to seducing spirits,
right.
there will come a time during the change of the heavens when people will reconsider everything. Now, it just so happens that during that time, I mean, just like in Revelation, you notice people in there that openly hate God, right?
Yeah.
That means they don't say he's not real. They absolutely know he's real,
Yeah.
and they absolutely hate him, right?
Yes.
So you're gonna have people like that. That's what it ultimately becomes, which means something polarized the people. The only thing that can absolutely polarize people that way, that means everybody believes. That means very soon, right? We're going to undergo a course of events where everybody believes. Now, what could be of such magnitude that every human soul would believe in God? Whether they hate him or love him, they're going to believe in him, right? Because in Revelation, they were blaming God for everything that
Right.
happened.
Right.
And this was before the wrath of God. They
Right.
were blaming him before the wrath. So they witnessed something, a massive change that was impossible, that threw science out of the window, right? They didn't go with the science thing anymore because at that point they knew impossible things would happen, right? The heavens, we're undergoing a course of events. Our heavens, our skies have been stable for a very long time, right?
Yes.
They're going to begin to alter something mankind has not ever seen before. It will not. It will not align itself with physics. It will not. That little partition between reality and those hidden things is going to vanish in a lot of parts of this earth, and people are going to experience things where they will not be able to doubt the validity of the spirit realm or the Godhead. They won't doubt that anymore. But at that time, humanity will be polarized. You'll have some that absolutely hate and some that love. But no one's going to walk the earth saying there is no God. No one will do that. That's not what
No,
they're going to do.
no,
That's not.
that because in
Which
other
means,
words, the circumstance it's sort of like World War II. And nobody said there was no God because they decided to pick one side or the other. Everyone knew that we better call on the Lord. The Americans were doing it because they felt that the world was going to be overtaken by Hitler and the Nazi Germany.
right? And that
Uh,
was just man's wars,
yeah,
right?
as a man war,
Because
that ain't some.
in the Middle East, you know, during the Gulf Wars and so on and so forth, people are resistive. But what happens? What's going to happen at Kennedy Space Center, right? When one of Musk's landing rockets comes back with something on it that nobody wanted on
What?
it, and then of course,
Like it?
people are going to be messed up over that. Not some ET being,
I mean,
right?
are you talking about
No,
a virus or
but
something?
most certainly an organism.
Yeah.
What happens then when it's an organism that's just beyond classification, like the two they found that last year, the end of last year in December, I believe it was. They thought it was dead. It wasn't dead. It reconstitutes itself in the presence of blood, right? So that really messed some people up because it should have been petrified, fossilized, or something, but it wasn't. Right, came right back to
So
life
you're
and
saying
began to replicate in the presence of blood.
there was two organisms that came with one of these Musk
Well, no,
spacecrafts?
not with his. We found some on Earth that
Okay.
were supposed to. They were in the fossil layer.
Okay, I got you.
Nothing
Like
is supposed to come back in a fossil layer,
in the
right?
permafrost. They're worried
And
about the
it's
permafrost.
nothing. Yeah, and but this was in the rock.
Okay.
We're talking about something in rock that's supposed to be petrified. How can something come back to life? See, we don't know
We don't
everything.
know
We don't know
everything.
everything. And what's going to happen in Kennedy Space Center when alarms go off and everything else goes off and people are, it's just not going to be a good day, right? My advice would be don't go to another comet or body out there in space and come back here. Don't bring
Don't bring
anything back
anything
here,
with you.
you know.
Right.
But they're not going to listen.
No.
They're not going to listen at all. So those things we will begin to entertain. And then what's going to happen when people begin to see the unbelievable? Let's just put it this way. Something has been, just like angels are around us all the time, right? But nobody can see it. So right now, a lot of people know about angels, but it's very difficult, even for some believers, to absolutely grip that idea, right? But what happens when something just like that becomes visible? Not some ET from out there, but something that's been here the entire time. What happens when all that becomes, and when I say visible, I mean visible, which means your eyes will begin to pick up a brand new spectrum because of the ionosphere will have a change that's going to affect your vision. You're going to be able to see in a different spectrum. And when that happens, all these things that are hidden won't be hidden because your eyes are going to change because something is going to happen to the upper atmospheres.
Wow. That's a game changer again. There's
Yeah,
another
then
game
what?
changer.
And that's just one of a great many happenings that humanity is going to go through.
I think what we're seeing, Mike, is that, we can look at some of the ancient civilizations and shake our head and say, how did they move those stones, or how did they build this, or I've often wondered about the Tower of Babel. I mean, they're building this thing, and God said, whoa, they have figured out how to reach heaven. So they had to have had some kind of technology. What was it
They
was,
sure did.
yeah, they had
And
some
the army,
technology.
England, and the USA have artifacts from Babel, the real Babel,
Okay.
not some pictures somebody saw. No, the
Okay.
real thing, the real thing. And when it was written that they were, if nobody obstructed them, they would be able to reach heaven. There's no limit to what they could develop. They were human beings just like we are
Yep.
today.
Yep.
And today we cannot help but to take technology further and further and further.
Right.
We are natural born creators. We do this, we're made after the image and likeness of the creator. So we create.
Yes, we
But
do.
they had no limits. They had no limits. They were cooperative. They weren't divided like us. Can you imagine that? Everybody who speaking the same language, doing the same thing cooperatively. Can you imagine what we could accomplish? Right.
It'd be
The only thing
unlimited.
that's holding us back right now is division. That's
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Germany has beautiful scientists, right?
Right.
Russia,
Right.
wonderful engineers dedicated to India, magnificent mathematicians, and all these guys that work in these the quantum realm and all this that, and the other.
South
You get
Korea.
all that together. You get all these people together. The Chinese, they can emulate anything they see faster than the
The
original people who
Russians.
designed and made it. And so you get all these people together. Can you imagine? We would have conquered just about everything. And so the Tower of Babel was a very real place,
Yes, it
right?
was.
They spent trillions of dollars getting everything they could from the Tower of Babel, which is why they were chasing the Sumerian text and following the maps and things that they found to extract that technology, because that technology was it looks like stone. It looks like stone until it's activated in the presence of certain things. Stones, you realize, are not stones, right? They're
Yeah.
just not. It's like having if anybody understands a transistor, which is silicon, germanium, and some other stuff, it is only elements of the earth, right? And they are organized in a specific way to perform a function that allows or disallows electrons to move through it at certain speeds. You can do that with you. They took the same minerals and everything else, but the construction methods were different. And instead of using wires, they had electrons flow in the presence of a certain type of vibration. Right. So they did things so efficiently, very different. But that technology, they've got the technology. They got most of it to work. They've been recruiting people to do this for a long time. Right. That's why I don't trust a black. I'll never trust a black stone. Anywhere
No.
there's a black stone, stay away from it. I
Yeah.
can tell you
Yeah.
that now. Stay
Yeah. Don't
away.
stay away. Stay
Stay
away.
away.
Stay away from the black goo.
Yeah.
Stay away. Now.
Well, the UN has one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and so does
They
Mexico.
pray to it. Yeah, there you go.
Let me ask you this question: we just sent a satellite up, or not satellite, some kind of rocket ship, all the way to that asteroid Bennu, and we drilled into this thing and brought back some canisters of powder, and then they came all the way back to Earth, and we finally got them open. And we couldn't hardly get them open, but we finally got them open. It was full of some kind of dust. Do you worry about what in the world that was in that? I mean, is that?
I do.
I
I
mean,
do.
should we be
Here's why I do.
okay?
Here's why I do. With the ISS, with the one that people know about,
Yeah,
they sent a public scientist up there, right? And he did some tests, and viruses are known to be 700 times more potent in space than on the Earth.
we don't need to bring that
And
down here.
they did further tests, which implies that viruses are not from Earth.
Really?
If a virus were from Earth, right? Think
Yeah.
about something. If a virus is from Earth, then how could you get that virus? Here's why I say that.
Okay.
Because we pass genetic immunities to our children. You
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
encountered that virus. You would have encountered that virus, and somebody would have had some sort of immunity, right? But when certain types of flus hit the planet, indeed, they were different. They still have specimens, and they know they do not match anything else found on the planet. They know for a fact that viruses have been found in concentrated amounts near meteorite crashes and things of that nature, right? So the space shuttle gave the biggest giveaway, especially with the aerogel collection. They found viruses in the upper atmosphere, right? So
Right.
when things come down from the upper atmosphere, organisms will come down to the surface of the earth. They're not supposed to be down here. In space, there are more organisms. Inside of these little space rocks, nickel, they found life forms inside the nickel. Um, it was Bill Clinton who was going to announce life, but they said, no, that's not a good idea. Don't do it. They actually found life. They found microbes. They found bacteria type things, right? They said, don't do it. Don't announce it. Because they knew that if they had announced it, that it was on Earth, somebody would ultimately freak out,
Yeah. One
right?
more
They,
question. One more question, and that is, we're going to have this solar eclipse. It's coming April 8th. We hit X. Here's the second one total eclipse in less than 7 years, really. The same time that's going to happen, we got two different cicadas. One is on a 17-year cycle, one on a 13-year cycle. They're both going to come out of the ground the same time. And this hasn't happened since 1803. It's going to happen in Illinois in the same place the X is. Now, do you feel that something? I mean, is there something there? I mean, this sounds like two plagues of Egypt happening in southern Illinois. Oh, by the way, and that area is called Little Egypt, and there's a town called Cairo
yeah.
just 10 miles away. I mean, is there anything there? Is God trying to send us a message? Because He's the one that put this thing in cycles.
Anywhere there's been any type of plague of critters, right? Something else always follows that. Always. It always has. Major things follow that. Remember the crickets that were in Arizona?
Yeah.
All those crickets, and everybody got exposed to those
Yeah, I remember
crickets.
that. Yep.
And crickets were all over the place. And then ever since that time, everything has gone downhill. Right? They've had in the Middle East, the same thing has happened where they saw the crickets and locust things went straight downhill
Yeah.
when they don't see any locusts. So here's what I believe. I believe exactly what the Word of God says, and I believe some of these clocks that people are following concerning these alignments and things of that nature. Somebody set those in motion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pastor Paul. Nobody can tell me that the moon is going to continue to keep its orbit despite all of what smacks into it, all of the subtle changes, radiation, the winds, and everything else. How in the world is everything keeping its position? They put countless lasers on the moon, and they already reported that it makes micro adjustments all the time. So who's doing that, right?
Right.
So anyway, I don't believe how normal people believe because I've been exposed to too much and I'm ruined. I can't believe like everybody else can. But when it comes to these solar eclipses, in Genesis, God made these lights in the sky for signs and for seasons, but that word is actually can be translated into signals, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So he's giving us an appointed time, and then you have something in nature acting at the same time. That can't be coincidence. That's timing beyond our own comprehension or predictions. And so here we are. Now, I can almost guarantee that something significant will follow that. I can almost guarantee something significant will follow that. And it is amazing that in Illinois, you have all those different places. It's also amazing that was one of the first places where these black armored military vehicles were stored, and they told everybody to stay away. They lied to everybody at first. Remember when
Yeah, I
that was
remember
the
that.
first
Jade
place to
Helm.
receive them?
Jade Helm.
That they lied to everybody and said that they were, whatever they were. It's also a place where they have underground tubes coming up like periscopes, right? And somebody's keeping those clean and updating the cameras on them. Have you ever seen those coming out of the ground? They're
No.
loaded. Illinois is loaded with these periscope type things,
Coming out of
right?
the ground? Periscope?
Yes, coming out of the ground. Because Illinois, wouldn't that be a perfect place for underground activity?
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean,
There
yeah.
you go.
Well, look,
It's a
you
lot
said
of
had you got the the fault line there. I can't remember. It just left me. Anyway, they had huge, right there in the Mississippi, right down there in Missouri, right down in there, the New Madrid fault line. Okay, that's
yeah.
right in the same area as well. So, yeah, so it's going to get crazy. I think that these are signs in the heavens and on the earth. We're seeing them. And you're
I think they
saying it
are.
has to be God in control, which, by the way, are you trying to tell me you believe that God is real?
Of course.
Oh, okay. That
Of
was
course.
my question for tonight, because apparently Noah Harari hasn't figured that out yet, and he's supposed to be
Well, that's how you know he's real,
he's a
because of
smart
that guy.
he's supposedly the smartest guy in the world. Mike, I appreciate you coming on, and you brought some great information in here tonight that I think just kind of fires me up. I mean, I didn't a lot of this I didn't know. I didn't know about them finding technology from the Tower of Babel. I'm interested in that. I'm going to have to talk about that a little more.
You'll I tell you what, it's a some people have been ambitious enough, right, to even tell you where the museums are, where they kept kind of housed a couple pieces of that. But yeah, that's been one of the major things, is to capture all that technology.
Wow.
To capture all of that. Yeah, because they knew what they were doing, and we're
Yep.
doing it again. We're doing it again.
Where? Antarctica? Where were we doing it now?
Doing the same thing again, Pastor Paul.
Okay.
Look,
Mike.
look! I tell you what. Look at some of the new technology in Antarctica, right? Since you
Okay.
mentioned that,
Okay.
look it up. Look at what they're using to transmit signals out, right? Really understand it, and then take another look at CERN,
Okay.
and then go from there. That's all you have to do. You can't even miss it if you do that.
All right. I'll go backtrack. Mike, thank you for coming and being with us tonight. I really appreciate you doing that.
Pastor Paul, is always an honor.
The honor's mine. Believe me. God bless you, brother.
God bless.
Mike from the world. Yeah. So the question is God real? And it's easy to say, yeah, God's real. That's it. No, that's it. No. These guys want to philosophize. They want to convince the populace that God is just a theory, and that these Bible thumping, believing Christians are ignorant and unlearned and are crazy and are they got all their little labels for us. They better take another look, because they're actually walking down a path, and we're not buying what they're selling. Okay, we're not buying what they're selling. And maybe you're watching tonight and you're saying, Pastor, I think you're right. I know that there's a God, and I need to start worshiping him. I need to become a child of God. I need to accept him as my Savior, because I don't want to be out here. You don't want to be left behind. Listen, you don't want to be left behind with these people dealing with the wrath of God. You know that Christ comes and gets us before the wrath. We don't go through the wrath. Now, we might go through a little bit more of the trials and tribulation things that happen. I don't know how far we got to go into this. A lot of folks thought we'd already be gone. We're still here. But we definitely are not here for the wrath of God. And you don't want to be left here. with those who curse God, who blaspheme God, who mock God, and then God brings his judgment upon the earth. Tonight is your moment.